All right. So I believe we are currently recording. This is the Flood Prevention, Climate Resilience, and Erosion Control Board, Tuesday, January 20th. I'm going to go around, and if everyone could say who they are. And this is Becky Bunnell, Chair.
Bill Hurley, engineer.
Greg Podleski, member.
James Posey, member in the flesh.
John Dilly, Vice Chair.
Dick Mahusky, alternate member.
And then if people could go on the Zoom, please, say who you are.
Carolyn Camet, alternate.
Manish Jain, alternate.
Okay, so we can start the meeting. We have two people who notified me that they could not attend, John Fallon and Chuck, at this point. Keith is looking to dial in on Zoom, so until he does, right now I can put two of the alternates up to be full members, and I'm supposed to rotate them, so I believe,
Wait a minute.
Dick is gonna tell me who to alternate.
No, you're gonna figure it out for yourself.
Oh, okay.
I acted last time, so
watch.
I don't think I can rotate. I can
Everyone did last time. So everyone, all three were up last time, and I think Carolyn was the time before, if I remember correctly, but,
No, Carolyn, on December, Carolyn was not elevated, although she was in attendance. Manish and I were elevated last time. So this time it's Carolyn.
okay, so Carolyn, I'd like to nominate you to go up to be full member.
Okay.
And then it's either between Manish or Dick. Do you have a preference? I'm happy to nominate either one.
Manish.
Manish, all right, you're gonna get the up this time, and Dick will be first next time.
Okay, thank you.
And if Keith does not dial in, we will elevate Dick to be a full voting member. All right, our first agenda item is to hear and consider and act upon the minutes of the December 16th meeting. I sent them out. I hope everyone got a chance to review them. I will tell you what my comments were. I only had one comment, which was that all three of the alternates were elevated to be full members, and I think on the minutes, they only said Dick and Manish.
Oh, I was going by minutes.
Oh, boy.
So December, Carolyn did get. That's why you told me.
I stand corrected.
I am more than glad to let Dick take over tonight.
No, it's okay. I don't know if Keith's going to join, so you're probably all going to be bumped up.
Okay, great.
So does anyone else have any other comments?
Yes.
Okay, Dick.
At the heading, back in the body, it says that the recording, which is linked at the heading of these minutes, the recording is not linked in this, so you have to add that Prue. Prue like?
She's listening.
He's listening.
All right. So that needs to be added. And then, second page, item number 4. Third bullet, races submitting permits for Riverside Open Space tie gates. There is an easement issue that will need to be worked through. I would suggest adding the word access because I believe it's an access easement for performing the work.
I don't know, but
I'm
more comfortable leaving it as just the word easement.
That's fine.
It gives us more latitude.
And then on the lengthy bullet points in item number 5 on page 3, fifth bullet point from the bottom, underpasses downtown have been studied. In the second to last, or the middle sentence, the cost is estimated at $900,000 for 4 sides. I would think to say sites instead of
it
sides.
should be sites because it's actually eight railroad crossings.
4 sites, 8
It's 4 sites.
arms.
Yeah.
So
It was.
I would make that
I believe
change.
that was one of them.
And then the last bullet point, sunny day flooding happens when tide water comes up through catch basins. It will get worse as the water levels rise. I would just change the water to sea. So it says it will get worse as sea levels rise.
I have no problem with that.
Specific. And then discussions on all items can be heard in full by accessing the meeting recording, which is linked, but it's not in this version, so it needs to be linked.
Okay. Any other items that people would like to see corrections on? Then can I get a motion to approve the minutes as suggested, with the suggested corrections?
Just before, just before we get
Keith is now in attendance.
I finally get the internet to work.
Wiggle your neck, wiggle your neck.
No, I can.
Yeah, right.
You want to see
No,
the
no.
So I just want to I'm here.
Oh, good to see you. Okay.
You may not see me through the whole meeting, but I am here.
Did you have any comments on the minutes?
No, I do not.
Vote? Okay.
Before we end that, I'm thinking we have done this in a couple different ways over the years. Do we want to say that the minutes as corrected will be listed as final minutes
Yes.
as opposed to draft minutes?
Yes, I think
Just to distinguish between draft
Yes.
minutes and final minutes, and just saying minutes doesn't really tell you one way or the other.
well, we're approving the minutes as amended, which means those become final. But
Right.
if you want to say final, I'm happy to say final.
And then also, when we post the final minutes, do we want to include at the very end, approved at the 1/20/26 for meeting?
I'm fine with that. I don't think you need it, but I'm fine with that if it adds clarity.
Can I make a
also have
motion
quick
that we?
question.
Yes.
Go ahead, Prue, sorry.
I'm sorry. Was it determined that Carolyn was appointed at the last meeting?
Carolyn was appointed in December. All three were
Okay.
elevated in December.
Okay, thank you.
And this time Carolyn and Manish were updated. Okay, saying again, with the suggestions that Dick made, can I get a motion to approve the suggested amended minutes?
I so moved the suggested amendments.
Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
John Dilly, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved, that is approved now. All right, we move on to update and discussion of status of active projects. Bill, do you want to give us a quick update on that active projects? Then we'll move on to master plan.
Oh, okay. On the active projects, let's see, I believe Turney Creek has, wrapped up for the most part. Same with South Pine Creek.
That's still not open. That's still got all the webbing and,
But I'm talking about the actual tie gate structures.
okay.
There are still some things with the South Pine Creek that still have to be done. Final regrading, obviously, loam and seeding, restoration, and they have to still do some things with the truss bridge that's there. Matter of fact, tomorrow, unfortunately, you guys meet the day before they have the meet. Tomorrow, they're supposed to have a meeting to give us an update on that project.
Okay.
Trying to think of anything else. Rooster River, we received bids for the Rooster River. They were pretty much in line with the engineer's estimate. And this is at the one at Fairchild Wheeler Golf Course, which includes 2 detention areas. And the apparent low bidder, it has not yet been awarded, but we're very close to it, is Guerrera Construction. The bid came in at $2.8 million. We are, because we have to work with Bridgeport as well, we just have to go over a couple things and finalize. some things
Sorry,
there.
Bill, that last thing you said didn't come through in terms of what has to be done with Bridgeport.
With Bridgeport, we have to finalize some things with Bridgeport. Obviously, they want us to start the project as soon as possible, as an example today, but, you wouldn't be able to do the construction that's needed on frozen or snow-covered ground, stuff like that. And then so we're working with them if they have to revise the MOU or if they're going to participate in accelerating the schedule. Because obviously, if we accelerate the schedule, which is good for both parties, we want to make sure that they contribute and that it's not all burden to Fairfield.
Do you have accelerated cost upcharge?
No, they've just provided, we have a semi-meeting with them, and then we had a pre-award meeting with them, but we have not even had a pre-construction meeting yet. We're all lining everything up, and hopefully soon, we can start and go from there. So
Do we have
Going forward with
do we have an estimated or projected date for that start?
that all depends on Bridgeport, to be honest with you. Bridgeport for that, and then signing the contract. What we don't want to get hit with some extras because of the schedule. So we want to make sure everybody's on board before we sign the contract. But that's the
How
only
about-
thing that's holding up. That and the weather is the only thing holding
Yeah.
up the project.
How about latest time or projected time
For
Duration?
to start?
Well, you wanted it done by May, right?
Bridgeport would like us to do it before the end of April, even mid-April if possible.
Is that who you meant we were pushing to start it?
Yeah, right, City of Bridgeport, because they look at it as the later that the golf course is, quote, under construction, there's a loss of revenue, and so therefore, we have to balance everything out for that.
So I'm still, I'm still seeing construction happen on foundations right now around town in the snow. Why can't you dig?
Well, this is soil on soil, and if you have a frost heave, and stuff like that. But there are some things, once we get everything done, and now there's, snow cleared, that perhaps early February, even if it was, quote, a little cold or whatever, they can do construction staking, they can certainly get all their bonds, insurance, everything on board. They're probably doing that now as we speak. So the project's moving forward, you just don't see the work yet.
Okay. 'Cause it's
So
supposed
there's
to-
a projected potential start in early February.
That would be right. That would be optimistically, but it's somewhat realistic if everything falls
If
into
the
place.
weather, if the weather is.
Weather dependent.
And it's in Bridgeport's best interest to move it along quickly too. That helps us, as opposed to, why don't you delay the project? Then that would be a hindrance. So
Got it.
the town and the city are and the contractor are all on board trying to get it as fast as possible. We just want to make sure that we don't get penalized for something, that's a little out of our control.
Did the lower 2.8 million come in line with your expectations?
Yeah, it was pretty close. Yeah, they had it around 2.7, 2.8 million, so that was good there.
Do we have to go through all the boards at this point?
No, it's been done pending, pending.
It's at that attorney review.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay.
So we're not expecting anything different on that, but we just want to make sure that, as I said, like for instance, if we gave them the start, say Christmas time, all right, or holidays, and now this weather came up, they theoretically, if we don't have it covered, could say, oh, that was a 2-week delay, I want extra money, we're trying to work. I think they're willing to work with us on short-term delays, but if there was something, oh, no, you have to wait a month or 2 months to do something, but then they're going to want a compensation for that, so.
Any updates on the notice of violation on Penfield?
No, I have not heard anything on that, but that's not my project, so I can't speak on that. But I haven't heard anything.
I haven't either.
Trying to think of, I think, and the other one would be the goal is sometime in February, early, probably we're going to try to get it in February to have the Tungus Hill one go out to bid. And then.
What was that time frame again, Bill? I'm
That
sorry.
one, we hope to go out to bid sometime in February.
Okay.
We have all the information, it's just putting it together. And then obviously purchasing has to add their boilerplate, they have to have some other things. And when we get this contract signed, we could probably almost mirror the contract that we have with this group for the next one, outside of obviously the city of Bridgeport has no interest in the Tungus Hill one since there's they don't own the property, right? So as regarding the master plan, if you want to go into that.
Item 3, yes.
Yeah. Item 3, we did have a meeting with the consultant. Ferb was not invited, but it was basically just to try to make what they have, the flood map explorer and viewer, where you could view all these different situations, coastal and riverine. They hope to have, they're not quite yet ready for the modeling, but they have all the things all on GIS, ArcGIS, where then you could go and see if your house is in a flood zone or not, or if it's near an area of a potential project or something like that. We are working, so that's why. It was just really a GIS kind of meeting with our IT people. And the next one, we plan to have probably sometime next week or two, because February 11th, and this is important for anybody that wants to attend, February 11th, which I want to say, I think it's a Wednesday, but double check for me, is the public informational meeting where they'll explain how to use the viewer. We hope to have the public viewing of that program before, so that the public can go on, and we would provide a link to that. And then they'll explain and provide some, updates on the project, what they've done. They've looked at riverine, they've looked at coastal. One of the issues that we have is flood and erosion, and resiliency, zoning and engineering got together with a list of priorities. They came up with a list of priorities. There was a little bit of disconnect. We always wanted to have a lot of those be public spaces, not private. So now they have a little different form than we have, and so I have to somehow merge it together.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about today was the criteria. So the criteria that Weston and Sampson used to do their analysis was the area had to be 1,000 square feet or greater, and there are different ways to filter that apparently, because some of those would be protected wetlands. They said limits of fluvial flooding, 10-year of extents, which I actually don't know exactly what that means. You might be able to explain what that means.
I would have to be honest with you, I have to double check on that. 10-year extents. The only thing I could think of is, where a 10-year storm would occur. I mean, because we already have the 100-year with FEMA mapping, so that's the only thing I can think of, but I can certainly confirm that at our next meeting.
The third criteria they put was FEMA flood zones, coastal VE zones not in effective location due to future coastal flooding. Isn't that the whole point of us doing this analysis, is to mitigate coastal flooding and riverine flooding? So they're saying basically focus on X zones, which will remain dry. Why would we do mitigation efforts in an area that's going to remain dry? I was a little confused on that one.
Like I said, I'm putting together their comments and our priorities.
Disagree with that one.
Yep.
What I do like is
especially the X. The only thing I could think of with the X, for those who don't know, those are I think it's like a 500-year storm or something like that. But the FEMA maps, you got to remember, right now don't take into consideration any sea level rise. So someone who might be like, oh, I'm in the X, I'm safe. Well, 30 years from now, they may experience 20 inches of sea level rise. And now that might mean that puts them in the 100-year category rather than the 500-year.
I mean, I have no problem with having X zones in our plan. I just don't want to focus on them.
Well, that might be,
out,
which
makes no sense to me.
Right. I'll ask for a further explanation on that.
Historical flooding areas from field investigation and existing studies. I agree with that, because why wouldn't we look at areas that have historically flooded? That would be, frankly.
Right. And we kind of gave them some of that already.
And the new flooding areas from input. So that's basically if we identified new flooding areas based upon the mapping they did with the blue spot. I agree with that. Critical infrastructure and evacuation routes, totally agree with that. Why wouldn't we do, that would be our number one, actually. And then
just to let you know, I had a quick, and I mean very quick preview on the GIS, and they have I know they have at least some, if not all. Again, we have to confirm that, but they do have they have a layer of the GIS that shows critical infrastructure. So that would be included in the viewer.
And then their last one they had was areas flagged for study. So these were their proposed. I would like to propose that for a vote on a modified version, which puts critical infrastructure and evacuations number one, which in my mind, that would be the number one thing we would want to protect against. Our critical infrastructure, we want to protect that. We want to protect against evacuation routes. Number two for me would be historical flooding from field investigation. I mean, if we know it's flooded before, we would look at options that have flooded historically, knowing that it's only going to be worse with sea level rise. And then new flooding areas from input. I'm happy to take new flooding areas if we've determined that these are new areas that are going to be that are more flood prone than we had realized. I added one, which is an ideal as opposed to a mandatory. So I wouldn't not have areas in, but it would be nice to at least flag areas that have grant funding potential, because we had talked about some of the, elevation 12s, we're not going to be eligible. If there are even FEMA grants offered, who knows what's going to happen with FEMA? But if there are even FEMA grants, those would not be eligible for grants, or at least for most grants. We might be able to get some grants, but, so I think let's at least know that as we look at our criteria and areas flagged for study. So I would actually just pick those 5. And I can leave you.
Well, I have 4. What was the 5th?
It was critical infrastructure evacuation routes.
Oh, evacuation,
historical
you counted as 2?
No. Here, I'll just give you,
Oh,
I'll give you
okay,
this.
sure.
And then I had some secondary. I'm happy to look at areas of 1,000 square feet or greater, but those would be really secondary for me. And
Yeah, why is that a parameter?
I don't know. I don't understand it. I probably wouldn't have it in there.
Nothing.
And I wouldn't
But why would
discount the FEMA flood zones.
Even if it was 5,000.
I would take that out completely.
Why would that be a parameter?
Yeah.
It would, to me, it would be, where is it flooded before? Show us the vulnerable
Here, you can take
points.
this.
I'm sorry, going back, areas flagged for study.
That was theirs.
That was
That was their
there.
number 7.
And
I don't know what that means, to be honest.
exactly, that's kind of broad as well, right?
I don't know what that means
So
either.
the criteria itself is to identify areas. to study.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean,
It's
I'm
kind of
happy just
circular.
to do the first 4. I mean, to me, that is exactly what we should be focusing on, is critical infrastructure and evacuation, historical flood-prone areas.
Depending on what the
new-
10-year extents means, right? We don't know.
I don't know what the 10-year extent means.
And then for them, we didn't want to deal with small little, small detention areas that aren't gonna, I think that's why they were looking at
Well,
areas.
but why pick 1,000 square feet? I mean, that just seems awfully large. And there might be small things, like underpasses wouldn't
well,
fit.
that's
For
the-
example, underpasses would be ruled negative on that. They'd be marked down.
I think they were referring to more open space. I don't think they would strictly limit it to that, but we could look, because again, with your critical infrastructure, the underpasses, or an evacuation, that kind of
But
covers.
presumably, these would be criteria that would be weighted, so we would put, if critical infrastructure was really important, it would get a higher weighting than a grant potentially. But I think we need to go back and re-examine that criteria. I'm not comfortable with some of them, because A, I don't understand some of them, but B, I don't think they're right.
I feel like we're getting closer, right?
Well, no, in all
It's a
seriousness,
process, it's a process.
we are, it's really now just selecting the priorities. I believe one of the other things that the master plan will show, I think though we're in pretty good agreement, I haven't heard back from them on it, is we also have selected 5 public site visualizations. So like using town hall and the historic museum there, historical museum.
Well, they actually disagreed with our.
Did they really?
They didn't want to show the parking lot side. They wanted to show.
I had a feeling they wanted
They
just.
only want to show the
yeah,
front of
yeah,
town hall.
I had a-
So if anything, I
haven't
would.
read that one yet.
I would,
though,
I would change that to.
But Emmeline, who unfortunately was out, she agreed with our 5 locations, and I think they have no problem with the locations.
They had no
It's just
problem
whether they-
with the one that was kind of the interior of the floodplain that was 2 houses.
Yeah,
There was
right.
one that was showing one an elevated house and one a non-elevated. So what they're going to do is they're going to do a line of various elevations. This is the 100-year storm, this is the 20-year storm, just to show how high the water will come. And so what we did is we took one picture of an interior of the floodplain with an elevated house and one non-elevated, so we can see where it comes on
Different,
that.
right.
We wanted one to show the town hall, which we wanted to show that it comes all the way across the field for this building and into the parking lot. But they said that they couldn't work with that picture. So they are proposing the other side of.
I had a
of real
feeling it
town
was too
hall.
broad, yeah,
So
so.
I
had
might
a
just,
feeling
I
they
might,
say
I might
that.
do Fairfield Museum then. Just do the front of Fairfield Museum if they really want to show something on, because I actually think we should show it from this side, because the flooding comes from this side.
What I would, on that, whether it's the Independence Hall or the museum, I think if you notice, if you ever park in the parking lot, you kind of walk up the ramp, so we're a little bit
I know,
higher.
that's why I would do the museum.
From that aspect, so I was gonna say, based on elevation, and I'll confirm it, then we would go with the museum.
Yeah, because then it gives it at least from the side that the flooding comes from.
Yes.
They agreed with, they were, for the Pine Creek pump station, which we'd proposed, we'd shown one that was, where Bowman's Way goes across from Pine Creek Avenue, I believe it is, walks out to the beach. And so you're basically sitting on top of the Pine Creek dike, looking along the Pine Creek dike. And that would allow us to show when the water will come over that dike.
I'm not sure about that because they'll just show an elevation and then they'll just have the dike and then that would be it. I respectfully
Yes, in some
disagree. The one where it was with that little red car, there was a picture of the red at the corner of French and Pine.
Oh, we could go back and have that one
Pine
down.
Creek.
Yeah.
And so there again, same thing. You have one house that's elevated, another one, but also to show that, you leave your car there, it's underwater.
I'm okay with that.
I think,
And that just assumes it came across the dike, or would that assume?
and it will also show that you think you're protected by the dike, but here's
not.
the elevation and you're not.
And the other
For the big storms,
Yeah, the other thing is if we have a photograph taken from the crest of the dike crest at Bowman's Way, looking toward Pine Creek, one could show still water elevation of the 100-year storm and then show the wave action on top of that. Because, I mean, that's, if we're trying to inform the folks on the coast, they have to understand that if your dike is at 10 feet and the still water level is 9.5 feet, you're not safe because there's probably 3 feet of waves imposed.
Yeah, I have to, but that's a good point, Dick, because on their visualizations, I'm not sure if they're showing
trying to show?
wave action. Yeah, so I know they were showing the 100-year.
Not still water level.
They send a little slide thing and you can't quite read it. But it's, the way I look at it, it's very similar. Anybody that's seen, after Sandy, there were a couple of pictures either on the website or on the
These are the
in the
pictures, that
newspaper
pass this around,
where,
that they're proposing.
they showed you the house and you could see the discoloration of the of where the watermark was, so that everybody knows how high the water was.
My brother's house in Jersey's got it, yeah. We went and looked at a house a couple months
So
ago.
that's similar what they're gonna do. They're gonna show a line of where the 100-year storm is. They may, I believe they're gonna show sea level, they're gonna
Well,
show.
that's the
some
other thing, is
things.
they want our opinion on what three levels.
Yep.
So they were proposing the 2050 with sea level rise for a 25-year storm, a 100-year storm, and a 10-year storm, I believe. Those would be the three marks we would.
Yeah, let me just write that down. So 2050 would be the sea level rise?
2050
For what
with,
storm?
I think they're saying
25?
2050 with sea level rise for the 25, it's actually on my phone, I can't,
Oh,
he's
okay.
got it right now. I can,
All right,
when it comes back, well, you could just say, John, read out what they're proposing. The little chart there, they boxed the ones they were proposing.
Yeah, they're looking at the 10, 25, 50, 100, and 500.
Well, they boxed all of them?
The red box?
Yeah, that's the red box, but only the yellow ones.
Oh, sorry, 10, 25, and 100 are in yellow. But the box goes around all of them.
Yeah, so it's a 10, 25, and 100, 2025 with
yeah.
sea level rise.
The 25 and 100 with C.
All three of them with sea level rise, right?
There was a total of 6, I remember. That's why I don't
Yeah,
want to.
we had actually done the 2100 25-year storm, which was the highest elevation,
Oh,
the water elevation.
With projection for 2050 for sea level rise.
We were.
Because if you look on
using
the
circus.
deep official
Yeah, that's the one,
projection there,
20
yeah.
inches, yes.
But there's
We're using circus,
6 projections.
yeah.
Well, just to be clear.
We've been
on that
using
one-
circa.
Yeah, we're using the Circa, which is the Connecticut legislative approved, the 20 inches
Well,
by,
it's up to 20 inches, but, but that may be high, but I'd almost rather show it higher than.
but we're showing what was, like you said, Circa or
That's
the
what the state of
legislative one.
Connecticut is
Right,
doing, yeah.
And then that way we
So
can't.
the elevation, the still water level, basically at a 10-year storm at 2050 with sea level rise, for a 10-year storm would be 9.6. And for a 25-year storm, it'd be 10.3, and for a 100-year storm, it'd be 11.8. Those are the elevation levels that would, so are we I'm comfortable with those. Are you all comfortable with those as the three?
I am. I think the images are going to be powerful too. Really helps see
Yeah,
what.
the fifth-
There's nothing saying
The
that we,
fifth image was Penfield, looking from Penfield Road towards the ocean. So you get the parking lot, so you can see, they may go a little closer probably to the,
yeah,
but they accepted that building, so you can sort of see how high it goes against the building.
So just out of curiosity, with the viewer that's going to be shown to public in the next few days, will they be able to look at? Will I be able to look at my house and look at that 3 levels viewer and say if my house will get flooded? Is that the idea?
Yes. Well, you can see that on the FEMA maps right now. You can go right into the FEMA maps today online and
And
put your address in, and they'll show you exactly, and I don't think they have sea level rise though on it.
No, they don't have.
They don't have sea level
and
rise.
and,
This
and
will allow you to
that
see.
takes into consideration if my house is raised or not raised? Or does it just show that particular piece of land will get flooded?
It just shows, I
I
think.
think
it
they're
shows
similar to
the-
the FEMA
I
map.
think it
It'll be
shows the
like
water
cross-hatched
level.
or something like
Shows
that.
the
It
amount
might
of
have an
water.
elevation,
You might
yeah.
have an elevation of the water height. That's a
Yeah,
good
it
question.
gives you the elevation of the water height for those events, and then you would need to compare that to the elevation of your respective home. FEMA is not modeling elevation of everybody's homes. They're just modeling the water levels.
So it's just basically I can see if the land is getting flooded or not, and then I have to figure out if my house.
But I think on the
will-
viewer they're doing, I think they're giving us the sea level rise, which is.
Well, they're giving you an elevation,
on
which
top of
then you
the
can
elevation of
figure
water
out.
on top of.
Elevation of the land.
So if you know your
Elevation of the
first floor elevation on like your plot plan or something like that, then you'd be able to compare, yeah.
Yeah.
Becky, I do want to go back to this list.
Yes.
I like all your suggestions and understand there's still a lot of points of clarity. The point 3 that you have is deleted. I agree, flood zone X will remain dry, should not be a focus, but it could mean something else. FEMA flood zones, coastal VE zones, not affected due to coastal flooding. We might want to prioritize VE zones.
I want to prioritize them, exactly.
Yeah.
What I read them to say is we would deprioritize VE. I might have misunderstood. I read them to say we would deprioritize VE and focus on X.
I read that as we will focus on VE zones regardless if they're flagged for future coastal floodings.
Oh, okay.
Not an
Let's
effective
clarify that.
location
Yeah, all right,
like
so
already.
clarify.
Yeah. So yeah, again, needs clarity.
Let's get clarity on that, because I want to look at some VE zones,
Yeah.
because that's where it's flooding.
Yes.
And certainly AE zones, but I don't
That
want to.
should show up in the historical flooding too.
Yeah.
But okay.
So let's
We're
maybe we don't delete this. Let's get clarity on this.
Yeah.
Clarity on what this 10-year means. And I think I would deprioritize the 1,000 square foot.
Well, I think that was just a starting point. I
Just 'cause there were
really
so
don't
many.
know. Yeah, our priorities, I think, in almost every case was over 1,000, and in a way, if you include all 4 underpasses, they're over 1,000. You know, so. But I can double check that. I don't think it's worth worrying about, but if we have an area that's small.
Well, the way they're going to do it is their map that they showed, they put all of these things on there, and then they put, green, the things that it did it, so it'll show, for example, if there was something a little smaller than that, it wouldn't show in green. So it would bias the viewer to think, oh, the ones with a bunch of greens are the ones we should do, which you would normally think you would want to do. But if that's not an important one, you don't want to necessarily show that in green, because they're not weighting them at all. Like if I was going to weight them, I'd weight the top 5 I've got much higher, and that 1,000 square foot could be maybe a 5% weighting, but the others I'd weighted 10 to 20%. And
Exactly.
you don't show that in their viewer.
Well, that's it. And for those, the other thing is really to find out what their priorities are going to be, or what we
Well, what
tell
our
them.
priorities- yeah, it's really what are our
and-
priorities.
And it involves a scope. I got to also review the scope review, because we know that there's at least 8 coastal, and they're going to look at 2 different.
That's incorrect. This is the actual agreement, the contract that we signed, and it's 15 coastal. And they're doing.
I don't know why they came up with 8. So that's what
I
I'm
know,
saying, is we
either.
have to go
Their
back.
contract says
and
clearly
say
15
something
coastal,
different. So
and
I don't know
they were
where they're
doing 2
getting.
concepts for each, except where called out in the RFP to only do 1. So I think we definitely need clarity on that.
Yep.
And then they're not doing any concept work for Riverine. They are only doing suggested mitigation kinds of things. So they're going to give us, ideas for the kinds of things that would work in various areas, is the way I understand it.
Yeah, modeling the riverine.
They're not modeling it, but they're also
No,
not.
no, but
they're
if
not
they
actually-
had, that
they're
would have
not
been
actually doing
extremely-
concept work either. They're not doing CAD drawings either.
They're giving us,
Conceptual
Yeah.
ideas for how to mitigate at each site, which I think is going to be, I don't know, I hope it'd be somewhat mapping. You'd want a little detention well here, you might want a tree well here, I don't know how they're gonna do it. But I do think we need clarity on the coastal, because the way I read this, and Bill, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
I have to go back and look at that. And then the other thing is I have to, because obviously I wasn't starting on this, I have to find out where they are on, in terms of how much money is spent, where we are on the processor schedule.
Yeah, I'd like to see an updated
There
schedule.
were a couple of items that they kind of budgeted for, but we haven't given them the go-ahead.
Well, there were three
Yeah, there
optional
were three,
tasks
yeah,
that
yeah.
we.
If you want to just bring it up to.
So here are the
board,
three
yeah,
optional
yeah.
tasks. One is a project that, Manish, you're familiar with this. We had an intern who was going around trying to see all of the elevated houses, and John, you were familiar, in the floodplain, so we could see which ones were already elevated to a FEMA level, because obviously the damage to those houses would be less than one that had not been elevated. So that when we did sort of an analysis of what the do-nothing scenario is, we would be able to calculate, the fact that these houses would be somewhat removed from the high level of damage.
Yeah, we might have some of that. I mean, I know we had a map.
Keith is trying to get your attention.
No, no.
What?
I've finished this thought, but I want to come back to what the contract said, particularly about Riverine.
Let me finish this one, but I will
Yeah,
come back.
it's exactly right. Thank you.
So one was to have them do that analysis of, go back and use, we basically used Mark Hoover from MetroCog, had set this guy up with a little app on his phone to be able to go around and look at each house and make a GIS note in the GIS database, so that we can compare it to the assessor's cost of the house and get a financial analysis. He got through about maybe 60% of the floodplain, so it may not be that much more. They had budgeted 73 hours, I believe, for that. I can look on their sheet.
73 hours to complete the remaining,
I
or?
don't think, that's what it was unclear to me. I didn't understand what exactly they were.
Bill, did you inherit anything from the previous project managers on our side that is like tracking the costs? Are they, I mean, they've been working on this for a year now. Have they in fact billed us for?
I have to
a
check.
bunch?
That group didn't share it, but it is available on the Munis financial system. I could find that out, how much that is. Yeah.
So they'd budgeted 73 hours and $10,200 for the tracking. But the way they talked about it was a little confusing, because they sort of implied that they would work with the town for us to provide the information to them, which I don't know what their 73 hours are then. So I would love some clarity on that, just because I didn't really understand what they.
It's a
were
useful
proposing.
task, but I think like 2018, we might have had a map that showed all the houses that were raised from 2012
We
to
did. I remember
2018.
Emmeline giving me
So
something.
if I can get that information, if zoning has some more information, or through MetroCog, we could maybe get that information. And when I
MetroCog
bring
doesn't
that
have it,
up-
because I talked to Mark.
Okay, they did, okay.
Yeah,
The
but I
other
think,
thing-
Becky, I thought Mark was saying that he could maybe get some elevation information through
Well,
the,
he was going to try a technique to be able to get
yes.
an elevated house elevation, but I don't know.
I don't know if he was going to use drones or something. I thought something he was trying to do. And I
LiDAR,
think this
I
is
don't
where,
know how
Bill, we
easy
need it.
Well,
Yeah.
LiDAR doesn't look at the floors inside, within the envelope of the
Yeah,
house.
it's really difficult. Coming from the insurance side, we would love to get this data to know what homes we're quoting and what's elevated or not. And from my understanding, it's really difficult to public sources or drones capturing the actual elevation.
Yeah, that or you know. you
That's
throw
why,
it
that's
on
why
Earth, but,
one needs the elevation certificate.
Yeah, you really need the elevation
There should be
It's a
elevation
valuable
certificates
piece of
on file here.
There are. Someone just needs to sit down and go through them all.
Yeah.
And that's why, if that's their 73 hours, are we comfortable letting them come into our database and look through everything?
So it's for our
Speak to-
Do we have a database where we have all the certifications?
We have permits and certain CFOs for all these, so yes, it must be.
But I don't
in there.
know if they're flagged that way, though. You may have to go through each.
If you- if
know the
one-
streets,
If
and then
one
you
goes,
in
if
digital,
one goes
is it-
through the field cards and you look
Yeah.
for that FCZP box, many of them are blank, where that particular property is elevated to some FEMA standard, whether it's the 2012 standard
Oh,
or the
yeah,
2013
sure.
standard. That, I don't know. I don't know what, when this high school kid was working with the assessors, did he find out what do they have on the field cards? Do they?
He didn't go
do
through that.
they
He was,
have-
he was just, he was just
Driving
walking
around,
around and
walking
driving
around.
around with his phone app.
Yep.
And marking the GIS at the HGIS location,
saw that
whether
it
it
was
was elevated
elevated.
or not. So, and I got
He,
super.
he basically told me he was counting steps outside, which is what most of us do when we walk the beach community.
Yep.
14, 15, 17 steps is the
definitely-
500-year floodplain. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, the reason why I bring up the optional tasks is if for some reason we don't elect to do that and we want something else done, that gives us,
little more
maybe a
room.
little option of, if there's something that wasn't in the scope or whatever, that, all right, well, you know what, forget the elevating the house,
We can do
model,
something else.
we'll do something else, right?
The second option was looking at basically a way to mitigate sunny day flooding, which was to look at the elevation of all the bulkheads along Pine Creek, which is really along Fairfield Beach Road, as well as the Pine Creek bulkhead, and create a list of possible flood mitigation options for the low-lying sections. So they said they would conduct a survey and take inventory of the type and apparent condition of the existing bulkheads along Pine Creek using RTK GPS. I'm not sure what RTK.
GPS.
Yeah, it's
Just
just a
GPS.
fancy name of, yeah.
So they're actually gonna take,
Survey grade GPS.
so they're gonna say it's 2 days with a two-person crew to do that. So they'd be able to survey 200 houses, 200 bulkheads in 2 days?
Well, using the GPS.
Just walk down the street and think.
Okay.
Well, to get a good fix, you need 3 minutes per set so that you get your proper number of epochs, so that you get good quality. So,
10 hours. Right? 200 houses, 600 minutes,
yeah,
10 hours.
and that's with no travel time, no setup.
Well, you're
time.
walking house to house, so it's not like you're gonna be,
It's only one side of the road,
Yeah.
road for the most part.
well, no, it'd be both sides.
Why?
It's both sides of
You're
Pine Creek.
measuring
It's
the bulkheads. The bulkheads,
The
yeah.
bulkheads are on the Fairfield Beach Road side.
Yeah, but on the other
The
side,
other side's the dike.
The other side's the dike. Well, we were also, I thought, gonna look at any low-lying dike.
but that only goes to a certain way, and then the rest is the open space.
So it's just the
marsh,
bulkhead. So they were saying that
But that would be something useful. I think Emmeline, and I think
Yeah.
you were in agreement.
I definitely would
We
do
think
that.
that one would be one that
So
we
that's
want to
60,
keep
61 hours and 9,700. I think that's worth doing.
because we don't have that information. And especially back in the 80s, there was a thought of you would get almost automatic DEP approval if you built your bulkhead to a certain elevation, like 11. And that was the model. But after 30 years, only 16 people built it to 11. And then about 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, they went back to 8, and then some
now
other
it's-
one.
now it's 6.
Now it's it's all over the
We
map.
want the
and
water
so
to
that's
flow
why-
over the road,
yeah.
which is a critical infrastructure. It's like,
So that's why
Okay.
having this, we'll give the town, okay, where's
Give
the
us a-
ones that we had the 11, where's the ones we had the 8, where's the ones we have the
There's
6,
nothing, yeah.
which basically is no protection outside
I think this would be helpful. yes.
fluff, so.
So,
I
and
hear a breathtaking,
what?
right? I hear a breathtaking. So I'm gonna jump in real quick.
There's a third one. Let me just
Oh,
do
okay,
option-
go ahead. I thought.
Let me just do option 3, then we're gonna go back to
I
reserve.
actually think that it has merit to what has been said so far, so let me say it this
Good.
way.
Okay.
So, and I was trying to follow about Riverine, that there was a change in what was being offered from what was in the contract on Riverine, that there were going to be, that now they're just going to give us concepts as opposed to a more detailed plans. And this is something I've heard kind of in over and over in these working with these groups, is that, there's a change from what, and I think they need to be held to the standards of the contract.
And they will be,
Sorry,
Keith.
Bill,
I'm
just to
not sure if
finish,
it was a
just to
change
finish,
to that.
Contract
It was just a
actually was-
number.
The
Just
contract
to
was never-
finish, just to finish, that if there is, if it, in the concept it says that they're going to give us plans, and it's going to take them too long to do that, that's not our problem, right? If it's 600 hours, or 10 hours, not including travel time and to get it done, and that's too long for them. No, that's tough noogies, right? They said they're going to do X. If it takes them 10 hours, good for them. If it takes them 20 hours, not our problem.
So
Right?
Keith,
So I don't think there should be any
unfortunately,
consideration. So I don't think there should be any consideration in terms of we need output from them, not how long it's going to take them. But the other is, and again, I just wanted to go back to that particular piece about what has changed about Riverine from the contract.
so in the contract itself, they were very clear. Unfortunately, they said concepts and renderings illustration for riverine flood mitigation will not be developed. They will do modeling of potential GIS and gray infrastructure concepts will not be conducted. The deliverables are a list of potential GSI and gray GSI is stormwater and gray infrastructure options for riverine flood mitigation, maps showing approximate locations of these potential GSI and gray infrastructure options for riverine flood mitigation. So they
Okay, so that
actually,
has not changed. Is that
that
correct?
has
Because what I
not
heard was that
changed.
it
They never
changed.
said they were going to do concepts. They are going to show us my understanding is that they were going to pick certain areas and show us sort of the map of that area and suggest the types of mitigation efforts that would be appropriate for that area, but not
Fair
necessarily.
point, but that's not, I'm sorry, but that wasn't what I had heard, so it's my bad, okay?
No,
What I had heard was different from that. That's
it's unfortunate. They're looking at riverine differently, unfortunately, than they're looking at coastal. Because coastal, they're saying CAD drawings will be developed for the alternatives, and then there'll be artist renderings for the illustrated concepts, one for each segment.
Which is different from our RFP
It-
commentary on that item, right?
We had wanted Riverine to also have concepts. With that, they did not propose that, and this contract was approved without that.
And between you and me, I think it's because Race already has done a lot of the coastal modeling, so it's kind of there. If the Riverine, you'd be paying for that modeling, which is very expensive, so beyond our cost budget here.
I think that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they also never promised modeling. So the third optional that we need to decide if we want to do it is one I actually also think we should do, but I'm not sure to what degree they're going to do it, so I'd like to get some more information. But this was conceptual approaches to minimizing the erosion of Fairfield town and residential beachfront, recommend options to mitigate and reduce the intensity and destructive power of storm surge and storm waves on the immediate coastline. So this is basically saying you're going to have more intense storms, you're going to get a lot more erosion on our beaches. With 20 inches of sea level, with more intense storms, you're going to start losing sand, we're going to start losing our beaches. What can we do to minimize that? That's what this would do. I'm just not sure with the hours they're proposing to put in what we were really going to get as output. They're proposing to put 124 hours in, $20,000. And these would be conceptual approaches to minimizing erosion of Fairfield's beaches and recommend options to mitigate and reduce the intensity of the storm surges.
Yeah, we'd have to find out a little bit more on that. What we don't want is them to say, oh, you could do breakwaters and groins and all this stuff, knowing that the DEP won't allow them anyway, so you're basically wasting your
The team will develop
20,000.
concept plans and typical sections with summary narrative and proposals, including analysis of the potential impacts as it relates to reduction of wave energy. So I'd like to learn a little more about what they propose. The only reason I have heart for this is I think we need to kind of go head on head with Deep and push them a little on some of these things. Because I think just because they don't allow breakwaters, New York does, other places do.
Massachusetts, I think.
Yeah, all these other places do. Why is our state not allowing things that we know minimize erosion? And I think we need to push our legislators on that. We need to push our Deep on that. But I hear you. I know they're going to say no because they've
done it.
They have
done it before.
But I think that doesn't mean we don't do it, and that we don't work with our legislators and get our legislators to start working with our state to say, why are these other states allowed to do it and Deep isn't?
Perhaps one of the strategies we could have is if this is not related per se, like it's a one-off, it's completely separate, is you find out how they're working on the other stuff. Like I said before, if there's some other important thing that we don't have in the scope that we want them to do, we use that 20,000 somewhere else.
Yeah.
If it's like, okay, well, they pretty much wrapped up, we've got 28,000 to spend. Oh, by the way,
Then we can
why don't you do
So I would
option
put
three?
this on hold.
That's how I'm
I
kind
would
of,
say,
right.
I wouldn't say no to it, and I'd say maybe put it on hold, but I also think if we're gonna bother to do it, I'd also like them to put a little bit of time into exploring what other states are doing it and talk to their version of deep and understand why is it that those states have allowed it, so that if we.
When you're saying breakwaters, if you're thinking of this typical groins that run out periodically, perpendicular to the shore, problem with that is they have a tendency to create vortices, and ideal place to look is take a look at an aerial photograph of West Haven, and you've got a scalloped edge along the whole seashore around each one of these groins that goes and creates. So sometimes they actually create more problems than they solve.
So down in Florida, they've started putting T's on the end of the groins, and what you're getting is sand accretion, actually, on both sides of them now. And the other issue is, you got accretion on one side and it went away on the other. With the T's, you don't get that. So I think we need to look at the state of the art of how these really work.
It doesn't work in areas of public access, but the reef balls and similar.
Well, they would look at some of those things too.
They put them in at Stratford, and they're phenomenal, right down by the old Remington Gun Club, and they're just phenomenal. But they don't work in areas of public access.
Or of high intensity waves, do they?
Yeah, because they've got a little bit of give,
Okay,
and that's actually their strength.
so maybe large reef balls would be our solution.
There's
So with
at
the- so
least
the-
a half a dozen different
Also
products.
habitat.
So are the intermittent breakwaters. They're using the Billion Oyster Project, and they're actually creating the breakwaters to have like places for little fish to be, and
Awesome.
it's a cool
With the
stuff.
one in Stratford, my understanding is it was kind of like in a cove,
Yeah.
it was eroding, but the
Yeah.
velocities, I don't think are,
And it really
head
started-
on, I don't know if it will work, but if we have a
It
little.
started
cove-
accreting a lot.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, that's what we want, is we want to.
Depending on which way the wave set is coming in Stratford, they can get a pretty big fetch on them. Maybe not at 90 degrees perpendicular angle, but at a pretty severe.
I'm using the term
Severe,
reef
not
balls,
severe.
but there's at least a half a dozen different products in all
Right.
different sizes and scales.
Yeah.
There's trapezoids,
Yeah,
Yep. I've seen that.
I've seen those too.
but the trouble is we've got an awful lot of our shoreline is publicly accessible, and those things, they're not very attractive, and they could be an attractive nuisance for kids.
Well, maybe you only do them in places where you have a lifeguard who can blow his thing saying you can't get on it. Anyway, so I think so our recommendation would be to, yes, do the top two, but to really understand what they're proposing and put the third one on hold to understand whether we have budget left over. We're going to get some clarity on the criteria, but we would change the order of them, it would be our recommendation. And then I guess the last thing is, how are we going to merge all these different concepts? So we've got, the concepts we gave them.
Yep.
We got the concepts that Race did, and then we have the
On the
concepts.
backside there of that, on the blueprint, you're all the way over there.
Oh, that's it. These are the Riverine ones.
Well, it was just schools. It was 80-90% schools.
Right, but, so it's all these. So, I mean, how much of these corresponded with the ones? We'd almost have to sort of ask them to say, here's our list. Which ones of these corresponded to that? Which ones did we have in common? So maybe what we do is, why don't we ask them to take our list as the start point and then tell us which ones were in
Well,
common?
in one email, they were like, well, you could expedite the process by, meaning the town go through these. So
No, that's their job. We gave them our list. They should say.
Yeah, well,
which
they
ones
said
are on
that this
both-
was, I guess, pre-approved or some crap.
What?
I
We
don't
never
know.
approved it. That's what they sent us.
Yeah.
Just because they sent it doesn't mean we've approved it. And the same thing with races. I mean, Race gave us, this is Race's list.
Yeah, which a lot of them are the tide gates.
Yeah, they had a ton of tide gates at the back end.
Well, when you see something like Osborne Hill School, you're just like, there's.
So I would ask them, Bill, if I were you, I would take our list and ask them to say, please say which ones on our list correspond to your list.
When they say things like these were pre-approved, do you know that one of the 3 or 4 different project
Well, that's what I mean.
managers that we had on this,
That's what,
that
yeah.
they didn't have some communication?
Well, this one was never approved, as far as I know. I know they
I'm
sent
just-
it.
And
I'm
that's
just saying, there's a black hole.
And
There's
they're
a black hole out there.
It's implied, yeah. So that's.
It's almost like
you
if we
know,
don't get back to them, they consider it approved, and that's not an approval.
Well, that's, yeah, I mean, you
That's not
might
an
be right
approval.
on that. Because they'll be like, well, we're trying to maintain our schedule, and then, they come up with reasons. They don't want to hang on to this report for a couple of years. That's for sure. They want to get it out, and they have their name on it though, so they've got
Want it to be good.
concerned, yeah.
Well, the other thing, they haven't brought this up yet, but I would very much like to see, before they start writing this report, a detailed outline of exactly what they propose to have in each section, so that we can comment on that and say, we really think you need this, this, and this in this section, and we don't expect you to write it. You can pull from this report straight into here, or you can, you can do a summary of it if you'd prefer, but you need to have, this report was meant to be a compilation of all of the stuff we've done and a recommendation at the end. So I want every study we've done included to at least show that this was work, they were done by other companies, unfortunately, so I know companies don't like to include that stuff, but
Well, that's what I mean. I got to see where they are, because in my
Well, but
opinion.
that's an appendix. That can just be an appendix.
well, I want it in the study report and just say, see appendix for full details.
Yeah.
I have to find out if they're at 50%, 30%, or 80%, then we're in trouble.
We're in real
But
trouble, yeah.
I have a feeling they're only somewhere between 30 and 50 is what I'm thinking, but I have to confirm.
We don't agree with half the sites I've identified. If they're at 50 or percent or above, then we've got real
We
problems.
got real problems.
We got real problems.
But, I mean, if I recall, there was like 350,000, I'll have to double check the final number, but it was, 300 something $1,000. And the last bill that when I took over, I off the top of my head, I think it was 20 or 30,000. So I think we do have still plenty of money and whatever in it. But
Could you
I
actually
wanna
check that and let us
confirm
know,
that.
just so
Yeah,
we have a sense of where we are?
'Cause I honestly don't know yet. So where
That would be great if we could get a budget update.
Yeah, I just think like a baseline update of
Yeah.
the project plan and the
And I think an
finances of it, the burn rate, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't they have to give us a periodic
Yeah,
status report?
they're supposed to.
I mean, I just think that would help level set it, and we wouldn't be peppering you with that because it would be out there on the table. We'd know what the proposed project plan is. We know it may deviate based on how things go, but at least we'd have a baseline to work off of, and then also the burn rate on the cost. And then we can make better decisions. As things become more apparent to us as we step through these analyses. Right? It just might become more practical for us
I
all.
think it'd be helpful.
Yeah.
And as I said, with this public information, we're hoping.
Do you think
that
we're
they
ready
provide-
for that?
Yeah, I checked with Emmeline on that too, and we are in agreement where we want the public to
Well, you know,
because some stuff that we don't
we've had
have.
two public meetings, right? This is before your time.
Well, yeah, I
So we
knew
actually
of
have had
maybe
two
one, but
public-
okay.
We had two public
We had one
meetings,
Woods
and we had
and one
Dave
at the
Murphy doing
downtown.
both. And he basically did FEMA level innovation modeling, not their modeling. So this is gonna replicate for a lot of the public. They're gonna see this public meeting and say, you came to us 8 months ago and showed us the same thing. What's new? So I just want to make sure there's something new, because otherwise the public will think, what have you done in 8 months?
Yeah,
that doesn't
well,
look
the
good.
viewer, yep.
They have to- and they have done a lot more.
We did not record those two public meetings. True?
One was, I watched one live. I watched it.
The one at the library was recorded.
It was recorded, right? But the
Yes.
sound was not
Yes.
great when it was the public speaking. It was
Yes.
fine for him.
Yeah.
But I watched that one because I was remote.
Where is it archived? Is it in Fair TV?
It was not done by Fair TV.
It was,
It would have been on the library Zoom probably, right?
it might have been.
Wasn't there one at the fire station? At fire training center?
Did they have it at the fire training center or
We
was
did
it at the
one at-
downtown library?
I think we did one at each library, didn't we?
No,
Yes.
It was at the fire station.
Oh, the fire station was one.
And then Woods.
Right.
So let me check.
Training center.
Let me check.
Sorry,
Let me check
because
my
that's the
Zoom.
next one.
I might have done the Zoom recording then, because let me check my cloud storage.
It was your Zoom. I think it was there.
So can I ask Bill before he leaves, who would be able to give us an actual invitation or explanation for the February 11 meeting, if we were to circulate it to constituents, to our residents, would Emmeline have something printed that we could forward out?
I will check with her. I'll check with our consultant. The email that I replied to this morning was confirming February 11th as the date. And then I'm recommending that when we put it out to the public, that there's a snow date just in case, you always want to be prepared on that.
Yeah, but there would need to be some kind of an explanation of what the residents would be hearing, or, who's going to be there. So something that we're not creating, but is created by those who are actually putting it together.
So it actually would be coming from the consultants. Can we ask for a 3-sentence blurb
Sure.
that we can use to publicize it?
The advertising poster.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And then the key point it would be is if they can also tell us the difference from the last one.
Well, they weren't at the last one.
Oh, they weren't.
They didn't participate.
That's why
Murphy.
That's why I'm asking if they were recorded.
David,
Yeah, but that might not count as their.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
No,
the whole reason we
our
did
point
this-
is don't duplicate what David Murphy already shared with the public. Because we're gonna get the same members of the public that are gonna come to these things.
Or
You know,
at
we
least
have-
if you're going to
We
do.
have 50 people in town who.
But I'll be
are
honest,
interested.
I'll be
That's
honest
it.
with you, I don't know if that's the case.
This was
But
our
at the
first-
library, I was there with David Murphy, that one. See, I thought you meant that Weston and Sampson had done a public.
No,
they've done
no,
nothing.
absolutely not.
And
I was like, geez,
we
I was there.
outlined,
Absolutely.
we outlined a specific number that they were.
We actually-
How would they know what David Murphy presented?
Well, that's why
They
I'm
wouldn't.
wondering if there's.
But theirs will be at a greater depth. I mean, because their modeling is more in depth, because he just used the FEMA.
Yeah.
They'll have they should have the whatever.
And they'll have the
illustrations
elevations.
or
So-
whatever.
And if we list the concepts, I think there's enough new. I just want to make sure that we don't.
Yeah, well, that's the thing
we
is
focus enough on the new
by Friday, we gotta, give them or sort this stuff
Let
out.
them sort it out. If I were you, I would say start
Because
with ours.
Because then they're gonna,
Start with ours and then
we
see.
gotta have that all presented
Yeah.
for the 11th meeting. I'm gonna see, compare whatever, and then after that, then I'm gonna go, this is what I have. And obviously, it's gonna mainly favor ours, I mean, I'm not gonna agree, like somebody said, Osborne Hill School, all right, yeah, we had you look very preliminarily, but we don't need that right now, and especially if their blue spot map doesn't even show anything, we don't even bother.
I spent 3 years on building.
What is the,
Water never came up as an issue.
No.
Not once.
I
so
think.
what is the agenda for the public? Are we going to share the concept list with the public?
I think the idea was they wanted to share the concept list with the public so that the public could comment on it.
That's fair.
If that's part of the agenda, then shouldn't we be looking at what is being presented before it goes to that?
Yeah, I'd like to see the
We're not agreed on
presentation.
the concept list yet, so
I
they
don't
got
think
a
we
lot
have
of
an
work to do
agreement.
between now and February
Yeah,
11th.
exactly. We don't have an agreement, so how can that be presented?
I think they should actually give us their presentation 5 days before, so that gives them enough time to make changes. So if we don't agree with it, we can make edits.
I think the viewer is the draw, right? To tell the public about what they can do, right? I think that's part of it. I think the concepts are very important, but only if we can get to a, semi-agreed upon list. And
I think that's what they're gonna do. They're not gonna present any they're nowhere near that point yet,
Concepts.
right? It's,
They're
but
gonna present the list.
to say, hey, here's the list that we're
they
doing.
can say, listen, we know there
Just
were
giving them an
public
update.
hearings, and here's a more in-depth view. By the way, here's a viewer for you to check your house out. And then here's a preliminary concept list that we're working on.
And
I
they're
don't think
going
they're going to get, it's been 8 months. I don't think they're going to solve the concept list between now and the 11th.
No, that's correct.
Maybe that's wishful thinking.
Well, I think we have to say preliminary.
Yeah, I know, but there's 3 lists and the overlap is probably 20% across each of the 3 lists. If we're lucky.
Whose job is it, isn't it our job to give them the list?
We gave them the list. We gave them.
So why are they why are they not just taking the list?
They submitted the list, like he said, somebody seemed to think that it was.
And I mean, Race's list has what, 57 items on it, 58 items on it? That's getting a bit much. Maybe some of them.
58 items, and they're allowed.
Some of
But they
them.
know.
We're only doing 15.
Yeah, right, so that's why
Well, all the tide gates are not concepts.
they had
My worry is,
said, I believe
My
some
worry
And
is-
they've got pump stations for another 10.
Hold on,
the,
Manish wants to say.
Yeah, I think, look, whatever list they present, even if they call it preliminary, I think that becomes a final list more or less, or at least assumption is 80% done. So I think we have to be very careful whatever list they present. If we have a significant difference, then I think we need to resolve that, at least at a conceptual level.
my understanding, and I don't know who, but somebody, if I recall, so they had said, somebody said to put the tie gates on the list. I know it wasn't me.
I
so
want the
that's why-
tide gates in the presentation. In other words, in the final
Yeah,
report,
see
I
that,
want an
yeah.
analysis that, I'd never said
They,
it
they,
was a
yeah, but they
concept.
may have taken that, yeah, that's.
I would like an analysis of a brief analysis, and it could be an appendix of the tide gate system we have, which ones need to be repaired, what's the maintenance schedule over the next 5 to 10 years, which ones are we gonna repair, which ones,
We've got
Yeah,
that.
we
Ray
got
did that
right,
report.
yeah, see that,
no
yeah.
one's seen it, exactly, I'm
I
just
know,
take
well,
Ray's.
I know no one's seen it.
Just take Ray's, that should be a small piece of our final report,
But
that's
they
all I
took
care
that
about.
as you
Oh,
wanted
no,
the
I
location,
don't
no,
wanna-
but that's
I don't care
where,
about it.
yeah.
I don't need, and
And
all
for
the
those
pump
who don't know,
stations.
you got, you
All
know,
the pump
3 or 4
stations are in
different
here.
people
I don't
from
care about the pump
one
stations.
engineering firm, then there's another, and as they mentioned, 4 different people. We've got 2 or 3 different people currently with the town, and so that's where.
Well, that's why if we're all in the
some
same
of this,
meeting, it
yeah.
becomes very clear. And if there's meeting minutes, then you critique the meeting minutes if they write the wrong minutes. They don't send meeting minutes either. Because then you could say, no, we never said tie gates as concepts. You would have
Yeah.
flagged that immediately. They don't do minutes anymore.
I don't know why, okay.
Anyway, I think we have enough for the meeting on February 11th. If we could get these concepts aligned so that we're,
I'm with Manish, though. If it's not really, really clear, it could go very, very sideways very quickly. Because people are going to say, holy cow.
You guys are all over the
We met this, we did this in the fall, and that was a thumbnail sketch from this guy, and now you're coming back and you're saying some of the same stuff and slightly different things, and it's a preliminary, and he's also right. Well, you may say, you can stamp preliminary all over it. The public's going to read that as, that's the list.
if they've heard something, they'll say, well, why didn't, wait, you said you were
No,
doing
they
that.
said this, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
you're right.
honestly, at least the 11's after the 3rd, because the blowback on that would also, you know, that's a theme out there right now about spending and vendor management and things like that.
Well, that's where I said, trying to get these, the goal is to at least get on the same page with them, hopefully by the end of this week,
Yeah, I
early
think-
next week, the latest, because like you said, we need to have the time, but they need to have the time to make sure that, because, there's no sense doing a priority or mentioning it if it's one that we don't even want.
We want to help you get your arms around them.
And I would feel very uncomfortable if we haven't approved any list that goes into this presentation. I actually feel very uncomfortable. We haven't seen the presentation. I don't think we
I think
should
if we
do
don't
the
agree on
presentation
the,
if
we
we haven't
don't,
seen
we
it.
don't agree in concept on a list, I don't think it goes in the presentation.
Yeah.
You do the viewer, you give an update on the maps, you teach people about their homes, and you step the hell away. You do not put the preliminary list up on the board.
Then maybe we don't do February 11th as the meeting. Maybe we push it to March 11th.
But is the meeting really about the list, or is it about?
I mean, what,
I believe it's really for the.
It's about they owe a milestone and they want to accomplish that
They
milestone.
want-
They're driving the 11th?
oh, yeah. Oh, it had nothing to do with us.
They're driving
Paid on that milestone?
Yes.
And.
It's one of their 9 meetings. They want to check off these meetings. They want to check off meetings.
They want to show
They
progress.
want to show progress. So they're forcing a meeting when we're not really ready for it.
Doesn't sound like, to me, like they're ready for prime time.
I don't think so.
Well, we get the priority list, and at least then, as I said, they're only going to be listing it if that, you know.
No, they're gonna be listing it with the criteria. They had that whole big chart where they had the column of each of the criteria and they had boxes, high, medium, and low.
That was one of the things that they wanted us to.
No, they did that.
Did they do that? All right,
They-
I know we.
It's not on that, but I cut off that because the criteria was wrong. So I just didn't even conclude it when I printed this out for you guys.
When I tried to fit it on one page,
You couldn't, it was
I couldn't read
17 pages, yeah, or
Couldn't read it.
whatever. So,
List that we put together, did they even look at that? I know Dick spent a lot of time consolidating that.
I
Did they
don't-
consider it at all, or that just?
they definitely saw it, but they're basically saying, well, your list doesn't agree with ours. And then they just like stop. your list doesn't agree with ours.
No, I'm reminded of during the David Becker era of this saga, that there was some snippet of conversation, and I don't know who the conversants were, that went something like, well, they're missing the boat here. They don't understand what we want. And the David Becker answer was, they are the professionals. We hired them to do this work for us, so let them do it. But they haven't shown any awareness of my municipality yet. Osborne, to your point about Osborne Hill. Osborne Hill as a potential detention area.
That's where I'm gonna park my cars.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I'm parking my cars, if it comes.
So it's like we need to get to a common list of
Well,
topical
I
areas.
think some of our angst about this is also the fact that we're a little worried that maybe they have been reporting out to different people even before Bill, and that hasn't made its way to us. So it could be that. I don't know, right? It could.
But that is no longer the case.
No, Bill's
Bill
on-
is their driver
Right. And I think that as we talk,
until Tony Wang changes that again.
Don't say it. All right, so,
Oh, God, this politics.
Bill, are you comfortable with the approach that we're proposing, which is that they consolidate, using our list as the key list, they show how they're, if they have a recommendation?
I think I have to merge these or find out which ones are quote in common, because they might be concerned about something, and I'll just use like Pine Creek Dike or something. They may just have it labeled as something different, So I think I have to do that first, but then if there's a big disconnect, I'm gonna have to have a meeting with them and say, hey, these are the areas that we wanted, And then the other thing I have to do is really review the scope again to find out. 'Cause
How many?
That's a big difference.
It's a big
yeah.
difference from what they're saying. So how do you want to loop Ferb back in? If you're going to do this work yourself and work with them, when are you going to loop us back?
Yeah.
Can we
Well,
help you, first of all?
Well, again, looking at the end of the week or early next week, so I would say, where are we at, the 20th? Probably right around February 1st or so. I'm not sure if it's a Saturday, so forgive me, but I have my
February 1st
phone
is a
charged.
Sunday.
It's a Sunday,
So
yeah.
like February 2nd or maybe February 3rd would be, I could, if not sooner, if I have information, I give it to Becky. and
That
she
only
can
leaves
use
a
it.
week to the, 8 days to the presentation. Because
Do we have
I
to
really
public
feel,
notice it? I mean,
Hopefully it will be
We
before
have to announce
that. As I said,
Well, we have to public notice it to get some people there. I mean, that's.
I know that,
We
but
need to advertise
if more
this.
than a handful of us go as well, is that?
so the
it's
29th,
supposed to go out.
the newsletter, the first selectman's
yeah.
newsletter will go out the 29th usually. It usually goes out on a Thursday.
Meeting, that's.
Yes, it would be out.
And then it will go out the 12th, so we have to get it in the 29th.
We should make it a special meeting.
Bill, just don't forget that February 3rd is election day.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying this is an internal meeting we're talking about for the 29th.
Well, I was saying that, I think that was a Tuesday, so that's why I figured. But hopefully it'll be earlier than that, and as I said, if I get, and I discuss whatever and we're on the same page, well, then it's gonna be a lot easier. It's only if we aren't on the same page, then there might be some issue.
And then how do can you ask them if we can see the presentation, the written presentation, with enough time for us to be able to give comments and them to make edits prior to the 11th?
Was the 11th a Wednesday, if I recall?
It's a
Wednesday.
Yes.
Well, maybe at least a Friday, because I know them, they're gonna be cranking out this thing, doing all this stuff beforehand. But I'll see if we can get it by that Friday, which would be the 5th, February 5th.
Yeah. Friday's the Thursday. So the 6th would be a Friday. If you want to,
Yeah, right.
I mean, I'm happy to look at it over the weekend. I just want to make sure that any comments we give, they have a chance to incorporate.
I mean, again, if they give it earlier, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
These are like
Drop dead.
drop dead
Yeah.
or deadline dates, yeah.
And then you'll review, how do we want to manage the criteria piece? Because our criteria is a little different than their criteria in terms of our order and our weighting.
And as I said, but that's where, again, when, you know, 8 times 2 is completely different than 15 times 2. And we were even gonna say like 15, and then on one or two, there were about 5 or 6 of them, you didn't have to do both.
Yeah, you could just do one.
You could do one, so we were around 22 or so.
Well, we might add some, because if they're gonna, if they owe us 50, if they owe us 30 concepts,
Well, it was
15 times
then,
two, rather.
well, then do some more Riverine. I mean, there was a little bit of play in
I
it.
don't know if they set it up that way. I think Weston, Sampson, and Race had 2 separate contracts that they kind of
Yeah,
merged.
they did.
I have a feeling that they're not really shifting money.
Yeah, if we all of a sudden swing towards one, yeah, they have it broken out, and they're gonna go back to the RFP or the contract that was
But
signed.
you can look at the contract. I mean, it's clearly 15 times.
I don't know, as I said, I don't know where they got that from, so I have to double check. I don't know if there's, as far as I know, there's no revised one there, you know,
They never got a revised contract.
so.
But this is where, could another project manager have agreed to something that no one
Well,
knew about?
that's, I don't know.
In which case, where's
It
the,
wasn't signed.
If it wasn't
It
amended,
didn't happen.
there's no change control process, then it didn't
Yeah.
happen. They should know better.
and there's no minutes?
As a consulting firm, I wouldn't hire them if they didn't have a change control process that was gonna
Yeah,
impact.
do
the
a change
financials.
order, yeah.
Yeah, so, you know what, I don't care if there's a conversation.
Is that?
And then it's all speculation, we really don't know. I don't wanna, because the other people might have all done the best
I
job.
sent it out
I
to
don't
them
know.
before you got back
If
on.
it wasn't in writing and if it wasn't signed and dated, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I've written enough contracts in my life to know that
Format?
Or a boilerplate before you sign, the last page.
It blends their proposal and our RFP?
It doesn't quite hit our RFP, but it's their proposal. It's exactly their proposal, that what they
Okay.
submitted and returned to the RFP.
Because I have a copy of their proposal.
Yeah, it's pretty much that. The other thing is, can we ask for an updated timeline from them?
Well, that's, I think, we talked about. We talked about, hey, how's your project plan and how's your burn rate, right? Where are we on money? Like,
A budget and an updated project plan, yeah, timeline. So that we could comment and. 'cause
well,
I also-
I think they wrote the bill. Bill's got to use that to kind of get his arms around the project and
Find that out.
understand where he is, right?
Well, I didn't
Right
agree.
now,
with
he's
the
driving without
original-
headlights.
Just so you know,
Yeah.
just so you know,
Right?
I
You
didn't
are.
actually agree with the original timeline because they had things in different orders, and we'd proposed an alternate timeline about 3 or 4 months ago, which I don't know where that went or if it ever went anywhere.
Well, a lot of it, as I said, what I'm hoping for is, they say they're ready to have the viewer public, it's just either an IT issue or something. And once we get that straightened out, hopefully then everybody can go on, take a look, see what they have. And then, you know, because they have like 4 or 5 different tabs too, you know, that one of them would be very similar to FEMA flood maps, but then they have some other tabs, 1 or 2 which are relatively blank because they haven't, like if there's
They
a
haven't
priority
populated
tab,
it yet.
we haven't agreed yet, so, you know, but that's forthcoming.
Viewers.
So once we have the viewer on that, then, and as I said, maybe we could look back and try to maybe at least a week or 10 days ahead of time. You know, I'll give you whatever information I have, and then from there, whether you want to have another meeting or not, or just share the information, that's up to you.
I'll share, I mean, when I get it, I'll share it with the group, obviously. So I think we're done with master plan. I know you, thank you for spending this time with us. I really appreciate it. I know this is late for you.
Yeah,
I
and listen,
really appreciate
Bill,
it.
this week, next week, if there's stuff we can do to help, like, to get them ready, because I think the viewer is gonna be about a 15-minute dog and pony show. All right, and then everyone's gonna get on their phone or go home and get on their computer to look at it, right? So there's gonna be a little more meat and potatoes.
Yeah, it wasn't, they're
hearing.
not proposing, if I recall, there's not proposing a very long meeting.
No, I get it, but
I think you're right. It's probably 15 to half an hour of presentation.
Well, there'll be
Then there's going to
questions.
be question and answer was going to be another half hour to 45 minutes. And then maybe there's 15 minutes in there of something else. But then that's, you know, that's it. I don't think they were planning, you know, they're probably looking at an hour, hour and a half, you know. But again, it depends on the question.
We let them do this on February 11th, and we let them do their 20 minutes.
This is only the first. I think we, if I recall, I looked.
We had 2 public
Yeah,
meetings.
so there's another one.
The other one is when the concepts are done. See,
Right.
this is why I wouldn't have had this time. In our proposed timeline, we waited till the concepts were half done so that they could actually comment on the concepts. Now, we basically have one meeting to show concepts to them, and if you have issues or if the public has any comments, there's no other public
Well,
meeting.
again, there's nothing saying that, as I said, if we don't choose one of those options, then you go with a third public meeting. I'm not opposed to that, and have them do that, or
Well, they
find
also,
some money.
But as they deliver real tangible stuff to us, there's nothing saying that we can't have a public meeting without them.
well, that's what we did the first time. We did it on purpose because we didn't want to use up
We
one
didn't
of
wanna
their
burn them.
public meetings. We
So
wanted to.
there's that option. There's.
And then there's the other
some money
boards. All the
left over.
boards want meetings. The Board of Selectmen's gonna want at least 2 meetings. The Board of Finance definitely wants a meeting when we have the numbers, and the RTM wants a meeting. So we have to put all those meetings into the schedule.
We haven't told any of the commissions, we haven't given any of them any updates.
Yeah, all the commissions need to
nothing.
get updated.
Well, as I said, that's where they can attend the meeting on February 11th, and everybody will be on at least the same page of what they have, and what they have so far, and then we go from there. If we have to have an extra meeting or whatever, I'll figure out a way.
We have to anticipate somebody asking about, okay, well, when's this all gonna happen?
And it also matters maybe too on
I think
what, if the coastal portion of it is no problem, then maybe we just ask for another meeting on the pluvial. Or if that's okay, then, with race being a little bit more local, then maybe the cost of having them come in for maybe even if it's this type of meeting, or another public meeting, so be it. But yeah, we have to, as I said, I have to find out exactly where we stand on this, find out where they
So
stand.
according to this, they should have spent $127,000 according to their budget. So I'd be curious to see how much they've actually
So if
spent.
it's 127 and
What?
Well, the
For the
modeling,
blue spot?
which is basically the Penfield modeling updated for some of the extras.
they have it here as 282 or something like that, so.
That's the final, yeah, for all of them, excluding meetings. So what they've done is they've done task 1 and 2, which was the assessment of vulnerability
Right.
risks and the visualization of the risks,
And
which is
there's
what all
over-
these,
There's over 5 or 6, there's even more here, right? That was just-
these are the optionals in the meetings.
okay.
The meetings themselves were 37,000. So they have 360 is what the proposal.
Yeah.
Was their proposal was 300.
So if they're 120 roughly, that's about a third.
Well, I don't know. I want to know.
Well, that's what we have to confirm.
Out if
right,
they're.
right. But at least budget-wise,
Budget-wise,
yeah.
that's what they should have spent.
And I think because they have given progress of, task 1 and 2 are completed, now we're going to task 3. So at least they have provided that. And as I said, with the schedule, I'm sure their schedule said, we're going to complete this job in 6 months. And that was something that we had a high priority, the very, very.
They had it,
beginning.
this was supposed to be done by
Yeah,
now,
that's what I mean. So that's where, some of that stuff,
which is fine. I'd rather have it take longer
Right.
and be done right,
yeah.
honestly.
But I'll confirm, and that will make a big difference, because if they're only a third of the way, then we're okay, If they're
Hey,
over half,
Bill?
then I have some issues. Yes.
Bill, I have a quick request for you. I sent you an email on January 13th. If you get a chance to take a look at that, we need some GIS layer data that Weston and Sampson produced. If you can share it with Mark Hoover, and he will just basically try to approximate how many houses will get impacted so we can kind of do the modeling around do nothing scenario. When
I
you
do
get a chance. I
remember-
know you have your hands full in the next few days, but like
I do remember reading that email. If there was an attachment, though, I probably read it, being honest, at lunchtime. I'll have to go back to that.
Resend it.
It's a little-
Do you want to resend it to him so it's fresh in his inbox?
I will resend it.
If you have the
As soon as we
time,
hang
if
up,
not, I can find it.
I'll send it as soon as we hang up today.
Yeah, because I could just do a search. He doesn't send me too many emails. It's when
No, I
somebody
don't.
sends me 50 emails, then it's a different story. All
Thank
right, well,
you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bill, for staying.
Sorry, there's a little loose ends, but we'll
Sorry to pepper
hopefully
you.
get that. No, it's okay. It shows that you're
Do you want
concerned
this,
about
or
that. Yeah,
extra, if you
yeah,
want, or
sure.
if you don't want it, you don't.
So,
It's hard to read.
Yeah, I know, that's why.
I printed out of larger
Yeah,
one.
but this is the newer one.
That's the race one. That's the partial race one.
I do these on 11x17 so that I can read them.
And then this is ours. This is our latest.
Yeah, that one, I should have that one, yeah. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. I appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You too.
All right, we talked about, there's no update on Penfield NOV, which was item 4. Item 5, report on the do-nothing valuations and risks. We need to get the layer from MetroCog, from
Yep.
Weston and Sampson to give to MetroCog so Mark can do, he said he'd play around with it and he could potentially do something that would work with elevations, but he sounds very creative with
That'd be
JS.
great, yeah. See what you can do.
So let's see what he can do. 6 was the watershed development plan for the Rooster River area. So as you recall, we submitted a letter of support for this idea of a greenway along Rooster River, which would be with multi-towns. It's a deep grant that I think was being submitted by MetroCog on behalf of Bridgeport, Trumbull, Fairfield, and did East come into it? I can't remember if there was a fourth town. But anyways, multi-town with the idea being, what could you do to sort of daylight or make more of a greenway around Rooster River so that it mitigates the flooding over time? And so this would be a study, that if we did get the grant funds, it would be to study what potentially could be a long-term, multi-year plan to do this over maybe 40 years. It would involve acquisition of houses and stuff. So, I mean, this is not an easy thing. It's not a short-term thing. But it is something that would help flooding on Rooster River if we could do this. So let's hope we get the grant. It had to be submitted on the 15th, which was several days ago. So I don't know when we will hear back. It's usually about a month for these grants. So I think if we hear back and we get it.
So this was submitted through MetroCog.
It was submitted, MetroCog actually developed, Megan at MetroCog developed it and submitted it on the
I think it's really
town's
important because of this whole Sackett decision and the whole riparian buffer.
Yes.
Potential rollback that they're trying to get
That's
after.
that'll be a big piece of
So
this.
this would actually, contradict that.
Yeah, well,
Potentially.
we would.
The study would
probably-
allow us to make the
would
case.
allow us to
Right.
propose a
Right.
scenario
Right.
that would be approved by the towns.
I actually have on my calendar for like later this week to look and see if if that riparian working group has put out their study. It was supposed to be by late last week, I think. The legislative working group we had coffee the other day, was supposed to be Thursday or Friday last week. So there's a legislative,
Because the next legislative session starts early February, like
Right, that's what they said.
6th or something
Yeah,
like that.
So there's a vegetative riparian buffer working group out of the legislation, and they're looking at if they can get a bill through that would do something other than saying, we really,
Each town can pick
we
your
really
own.
like riparian buffers. Like
Each town can pick your own distance for the river.
Like I said, we have protected it here in Fairfield. Tim has done that and changed.
He's done 100
He's at 100 feet.
feet.
Every place does not have that. It's a pretty good standard, but what they'd like to do
But
is.
the other item is the saltwater marsh buffers, because
Okay.
inland wetlands does not care about saltwater marshes.
Good point, yep.
And it's,
But typically, not always, typically there's a small buffer between the tidal marsh and the upland area that qualifies as inland wetlands. It gives inland wetlands a
Jurisdiction.
lot of jurisdiction. Doesn't always happen, but more often than not,
is it by distance on a map, or this soil scientist
soil
has
scientist.
to check the soil?
Check
the salt
basically, it's
content.
wetland, it's wetlands that are above a certain elevation. I'm not certain what that elevation is.
High wetland, sort of high.
It might be the CJL, it might be mean high water. I'm not sure what the number is, but if there's wetlands above a certain elevation, they constitute inland wetlands, and that gives inland wetlands conservation
Even though they might be
jurisdiction.
truly coastal, connected to the coastal.
Bracket, yeah. Well, anyway,
Because inlands are.
I just wanted to let the group know that there is a working group through the legislation that's working on a riparian buffer bill or recommendation towards a bill, and to reinforce something that was passed earlier that was really just kind of a resolution. It was really just to say, we like riparian buffers, but they want to put some teeth in it. And I just think it's really important for us to look at, and it ties directly to what you're talking about in terms of a greenway on a riverine situation that is constantly flooding, right? So I think that this is,
It would help. It would
this
generally help.
would massively help.
Yeah.
Slow erosion, improve,
Water flows.
absorption, flood zones, all that stuff along the Rooster River. I think it's really, really important. So I just haven't had a chance to look and see what happened last week on that. They were supposed to put it out, like their recommendations ahead of the session.
Ask Kate, she's keeping up with that.
Yeah, she is. I forgot. I lost
That's her
track over
hobby.
the weekend.
You know, it'll probably, there's a
Wonderful hobby.
League of Conservation Voters is having an all-day session tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Mary's going.
Yeah, I'm
and,
not going, but I think they'll probably bring it up because they look at every legislative
Yes.
bill that's likely to come up.
we have somebody from Mill River going. I think Sam's going to go with
Mary's gonna go.
Mary. But anyway, I think that ties directly into this grant. That's why when I saw that about the Greenway, I thought, wow, this is a great study that we then could tie into, or we could highlight to this working group.
Another agenda item, just quickly, because I know we all want to go home, but climate change and coastal resiliency funds. DEEP is recommending that towns consider this as a source of funding. Brantford, to my knowledge, is the only town that has one.
I reached out to Jim O'Donnell asking him if any other towns are doing that. Have not heard back.
I could reach out to Jim Finch, who
Nobody
is
answers
the,
my emails.
who's the,
I'm like Manish. Nobody answers my emails.
so I actually sent a recommendation to our new head of finance here.
Tom.
Harris, yeah.
Yeah. What
And
did he say?
he hasn't gotten back to me yet,
Okay.
but I'm going to follow up with him.
Nobody answers already.
But I'm going to follow up because I said, listen, I'd love to sit down with you, talk to you about this, and maybe get Jim Finch from Brantford on the
Well, why
phone.
don't we tie that into the other meeting we're going to try and have with the selectman's office, right?
I'd love to get, well, I'd like to do, I wanted to do it with finance first,
Okay.
but only because if he supports it, then we're likely to get the first selectman's office to support it. But for those of you who don't know, resilience funds is a way to basically start to build a fund that can accrue interest at higher rates than a town fund can. They can accrue interest more like a pension fund, which you can have up to 50% of your equities in stocks, which means you're going to get a higher rate of return, which means, and this is used for, it's not meant to replace bonding or grants as much as it is to be kind of those little fill-in things where if a house comes for sale that you really wanted to buy because it would mitigate flooding, you don't have to wait for 3 months to go through all the boards to get the approval, and then someone else buys the house before you can get to it, and that's happened to us a couple times. So they'd be able to tap into this fund. They'd be able to tap into this for matching funds for grants. I mean, so it's a fund that is meant for resilience projects that.
I'll resend the old data around to everybody, including that spec sheet that you had appended to something. Circa put out a spec sheet about this.
Oh, about resilient funds, yeah.
I did not know that existed, but that's a good.
They're recommending,
document.
so we should at least consider it. We may decide not to do it, but we have, I want to say 40 million in our general fund. We have a lot of money in a sort of a general fund, the town does, so why not Brantford put $1 million in to start about 5 years ago, and they've been putting between 250,000 and 750,000 in each year. So they've got a nice, healthy fund now. So, anyway. And then the last thing is I did sort of put in to write 2 grant approval requests to the town. One is for a Long Island Sound grant writer. They give you up to $9,000 to get a grant writer to help you write a good grant. So I said, let's try and do that. We need grant writers.
I've used that.
You've used that? Yeah.
Yeah. They helped us. They put some letters together to get people who would weigh in and support the grant. They gave them template letters. They helped us with the grant proposal.
Yeah.
A guy out of the Yukon area or something like that who's written a lot of grants. It was a nice expertise to bring on board. We didn't have that in Mill River, so he helped us.
Good. Okay, so
And then now we just step and repeat. You have the materials and
now you have to do the same thing. Yeah. So with that, is there anything else that, any other business that should properly come before the board that anyone would like to bring up?
Oh, I'm good.
Hearing none, can I get a motion to
I make a motion to adjourn.
adjourn?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all, everyone.
good to see
Good
you.
night.